You're going to hear the official welcome from Martha, but to Marty's Deli here in northeast Minneapolis, a thriving small business. You're going to hear her story, a great story. You see the employees back here. Just an exciting story about dynamics of an economy that allows people to pursue their dreams, small business owners, employees be able to work in their community, things that we deeply care about. We're joined also by Nell, which is appropriately enough that we're here on paid family and medical leave. Just really, really proud. Proud of the legislators here. I think we've got several of them here. Good to see you. Proud of the business owners and proud of Minnesotans to make the case that quality of life in Minnesota is something that we've stressed, being the best place to live, seeing the announcements yesterday of ranking as the 8th safest state in the country, things that make people enjoy their lives. And one of the things that has been missing in America is what happens if you have a child? How do you take time away and how do you bond with that child, which we know all the research shows how big a difference that makes? Or what happens if you've got a family member that's sick? My family's going through that right now with a mother-in-law. Or what happens if you yourself have an illness and have to be either through treatments or hospitalized? The choice in the past was lose your job or go broke or care for yourself. Or, as we were just saying, if you're lucky enough to have family support and people who do that, it's not the way things should be done. And I continue to say this, the United States is about one of 3 or 4 countries that doesn't have some type of program like this. Now we join the states that are going to implement a paid family medical leave program that we know not only enhances quality of life, it enhances retention, business success, and we see all of the things that go with us. It's smart policy. It's humane policy. It makes a difference, and Minnesota is going to have the most robust and the best system to do this, and I'm very excited about it. We were mentioning starting tomorrow, parents who had children in 2025 are going to be able to enter the system. We've been running beta tests now for over a month with folks, and this program has been built by some of the best folks in the country to do this, and we went out as we learned our lesson when we came into office on MNLARS. How do you fix these programs? How do you make sure that you're putting in the right technology? And we went out, Director Norfleet and his team over at DEED and the folks who make this happen, they have experience in it because they implemented the program in Massachusetts, and they've seen this across the country. So Minnesotans, on January 1st, you're going to get the opportunity to use this program. You're going to hear a little more from Commissioner Baerlich about the specifics of it, but I'm feeling very proud of Minnesota, feeling really hopeful about this program. We put a lot of work into both the technology behind it, the IT, and then, of course, lessons we've learned around safeguards around programs. And I think that's why I'm really proud the legislative auditor has worked hand in hand with us, making sure and very publicly addressed that this is the way these things should be done. This is how it should happen. So you're going to hear Martha's story a little bit, but for Minnesotans, we've carried out thousands of meetings, interactions, the Chamber of Commerce, outreach to this. You may be an employee not hearing a lot about this and how it works. Works just like unemployment insurance and workman's comp. You pay a little bit in, the employer pays a little bit in. We create the fund for it. That's why those are incredibly important programs. They work incredibly well. It's basically an insurance program for you that allows you, again, to take care of what you need to take care of without being forced to choose between your family, your bonding with your child, your own health, and your economic well-being. Because in Minnesota, you can do both, and we've proved that time and time again. So just really proud to be here in Marty's Deli. Really excited to get that sandwich we talked about. But I want you to hear a little bit, because this is both a great success story about what entrepreneurs go through, but also about, in Minnesota, that sense of caring for your workforce, caring for your neighbors, and caring about community. That's just what Martha and the folks have done here, of being advocates for this program. So with that, Martha, you got it.
Thank you. Thank you. I just wanted to thank Governor Walz and Commissioner Baerlich for being here at Marty's today. We're thrilled to have everybody here. I started Marty's Deli in 2020 as a pop-up restaurant, and since then, with the help of my staff back here, we've been a full-blown restaurant here in Northeast Minneapolis for about 3 years. We've got 25 staff members on at any given time. And now here we've got our 26th staff member. This is Nell. She was born 5 weeks ago, And because of this paid family leave, I'm going to be looking forward to some time with her that I otherwise wouldn't be able to spend. I've kind of spoken to a lot of my small business owner friends, and they've told stories of bringing their kids to work with them, after just a week or two. So I'm hoping that in the future that's not the case, because I'm learning fast that's just not the reality that I could live here at the restaurant. And even as excited as I am to use the program myself, I'm more excited to be able to share it with my staff, because I think any restaurant owner could tell you that this business really ebbs and flows, and to be able to not have to worry about how we're doing on any given, in any given season, and still be able to offer this benefit is huge. And obviously as a small business, every expense counts, but this small shared contribution is so much less than what it would cost me to offer this kind of leave to my employees. So that's really important to me. So I'm just grateful to have you all here, and thanks for listening to my story, and yeah, appreciate it.
What's her name?
This is Nell, baby Nell. Yeah, Nell. If people think I'm saying no, she doesn't have a name, but it's Nell. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Governor. Thank you, Martha, really for taking us in and being in this fantastic business. We just celebrated Thanksgiving, and I got to tell you, I am very thankful that my job involves hanging out with Nell in a cool business like this, and with you, Martha. It's such a cool business, too, because Martha started it. This place was built out by your husband, who's in the back, designed by her sister. I think you told me your brother lives upstairs, so like a true family affair. And then I think the staff seem to feel like family here as well. So it's an honor to be here. I have not tasted the breakfast sandwich before, so I watched some YouTube videos, and never have I heard a breakfast sandwich referred to as elite before, but that's apparently what we're dealing with here. So I'm Matt Verlick, and I get to serve the governor as Commissioner of the Department of Employment and Economic Development on behalf of the people of the state, and we are very proud at our department to have responsibility for standing up this new, very important program of paid leave, as the governor described. And what's exciting about what we're announcing today is that as the governor explained, tomorrow any eligible Minnesota parent that welcomed a child in 2025 will be able to apply for leave to be used in 2026. The law gives us that flexibility so that families can begin planning now how to take that leave, which we know is so important. And in addition, we think it's also important for employers to be able to plan to deal with when someone is taking their leave. And what's exciting about this as well is that we have been running a beta test, as the governor indicated, for just over a month now, in which eligible parents who welcomed a child in 2025 from just a few employers have been able to make actual applications to our system, and that has been useful for them. It's also been useful for us at the department as we are incrementally taking the steps to make this a highly successful launch in full on January 1st. We've had the opportunity to get in our reps. We have been receiving those applications, making sure that our processes are working smoothly. We've identified a few refinements to make, and that makes us even more prepared for tomorrow when we open up to all parents. And then on January 1st, we will be even that much more prepared when we open this up fully for all eligible Minnesotans for all types of leave. But as I said, we're starting out with applications for continuous bonding leave for parents that welcomed kids in 2025, because you have, according to the law, 1 year from the time that you welcomed an adopted child, for example, or from the birth of a child. You have 1 year to use your leave up to the maximum limits within 2026. And so this is useful from a whole bunch of perspectives, but particularly going back to the people we're talking about today, Martha and Nell. Having this benefit available for Minnesotans will allow us to take the time we need in some of life's most important moments to have that bonding, to care for someone who is sick, to care for yourself. These are the moments we all remember. But if those moments involve great financial insecurity, obviously that's a hardship for the 3/4 of Minnesotans that haven't had this benefit before. Now with this program, nearly all Minnesotans will have access to that. And it's also, as the governor said, great for employers in the sense that it leads to greater retention of highly talented employees. It leads to better morale, higher performance, etc. And we've seen that in other places. We also know that on day one of programs like this, a lot of the applications you get tend to be from parents who had babies in the preceding year. This is lovingly called the baby bump. But by processing some of those applications up to maybe 5,000 or so is what we're estimating, by doing that in December here, that means the demand on our system on day one of January 1st will be reduced, and therefore we're that much better prepared for full success. So I want to thank everyone again who has contributed to this, including employers who have given us so much insight, input, so that we can make this as minimally burdensome for them and as highly efficient as possible, and to all of the employees and healthcare providers, et cetera, who have helped us out with this. We are just delighted to be at this moment in Minnesota to offer what is going to be good for workers and ultimately good for Minnesota's economy. So with that, I think we would be open to any questions.
Sure. Commissioner, I know you just mentioned sort of having some safeguards in place to avoid having issues with the spike on January 1st when this rolls out. There probably still will be a lot of people applying on that day. Are you guys prepared server-wise to handle all those applications?
Yeah, as the governor mentioned, we are very fortunate to have an excellent team that has built this program, and some of them are here today. The program is meant to be very much scalable. We have estimates of total demand based on what we've seen in the 12 other states that have built programs like this. And with the fact that we're able to do this incremental buildup, that also gives us confidence that we will be able to accommodate what comes in. And remember, you're not going to see a massive influx on day one of folks that all broke their arm on January 1, but you can see potentially an influx of folks that were eligible based on babies in 2025. So that's where the reducing the bump helps out.
Are you able to share what those demand projections are?
Our team has them, and I think we've probably talked about them before. So yeah, we can circle back to you on that.
Any kind of limits on the number of people who can take leave to care for an individual? Let's say I got sick. My mom, my dad, my brother, my sister, my wife. How many of them can?
Yeah, so the main thing to emphasize there is that any leave, whether in that caring scenario or any other, needs to be validated in terms of its necessity by a medical provider. And we, of course, will be checking the validity of the provider and of all those things as part of ensuring program integrity. So it might be that if you have an appointment every Friday, you might need to have two different people who are able to drive you, for example. And that's something that you would need to specify ahead of time, and then we'll need to validate that that's all legit.
Do you have a date for when Minnesotans will see that payroll tax deducted from their paychecks?
Well, the collection of tax begins January 1. I don't know that the first draw comes out on the very first day, but we are fortunate that, as the governor referenced, we've had great legislative support on this and so many legislative champions. And part of what was done in 2023 in that historic legislative session, dollars ahead of time so that we could be standing up this program and being fully prepared without having to charge people that payroll tax prior to them seeing any benefit of it. In other states, that's been the case where you get charged before you even see the benefit, and that doesn't feel so good. In this case, we're able to do all this preparation and only start collecting the payroll tax at the point when benefits are also open.
I see a lot of legislative Republicans say that this is another state program that is going to get exploited by fraudsters. What can you say about some of the safeguards in place?
Well, I know the governor takes this issue very seriously, and we are fortunate in this case to be building the program from the ground up, knowing just what a high priority that is to maintain program integrity. This, in fact, was the subject of a 2-hour hearing in a committee just recently where our team did a great job talking about the multiple layers of validation that we will have. You need to verify your identity through the Login MN program. You need to verify the need for the leave with actual medical providers. And at every step along the way, we will be using all the information that we have to make sure that these are legitimate claims. Likewise, we are the department that runs unemployment insurance, and so that gives us an opportunity to achieve some efficiencies, but also to be cross-checking, again, to see if there's any anomalous activity, because at the end of the day, we don't want any money to be misspent, so that all the precious taxpayer dollars that are going into the program are being used to help folks like Nell and Martha.
Yeah, I would just add to that. That's the contribution of the Republican Party. They all voted against this. They voted to repeal it. They want nothing to do with it. And their fix to this is after the fact on things, is to have no real solutions, to complain about it. And then their fix is to withdraw the entire program. What I can tell you is in the 12 other states that have this is the most popular program in state government. This has about an 80% approval rating, and Minnesotans need to recognize not a single Republican is responsible for this program. Not a single one thought enough about families with their children. They keep talking about family values. They want these mothers and fathers to go right back to work. If you're sick, tough luck, lose your job. So I want to be clear. While we're putting in people in jail, while we're making sure these programs have integrity, while we're working with the OLA, while we're bringing outside validators, all I hear from them is about this. Nothing about the economy being hurt by the proposals. Nothing about the crude, hurtful language coming from someone who they're chasing to be endorsed by. And this is proof positive. While we're making life better for people, making life more affordable, all we're hearing is these complaints. So I'm incredibly proud. I've had the chance to go over and meet with the employees who are doing this. These are dedicated employees. And I'll have to tell you, the folks over at Deed responsible for this program, the joy that they have in making this work, because they know the difference it makes in people's lives. And I think all too often, to be very clear about this, demonizing state employees who are not involved with some of this, who are there to make life better, while we have to do the work of plowing the roads, keeping the hospitals open, doing all of the things that make the state run, we hear one note about how bad things are. Let's be very clear, as the president talks about and demonizes this, Minneapolis is one of the safest cities, and our year-end reports on crime are going to show a reduction to pre-pandemic levels because of hard work by police, by hard work of elected officials, by hard work of neighbors. So this program, this is your contrast, Minnesota, about what it looks like. And again, these folks are nonpartisan who are sitting with me, but I have to tell you, sitting there and complaining and bringing this up without adding a single thing to this adds nothing to it. I am incredibly proud of this program. They are on record now opposed to it, and I am on record saying Minnesotans deserve this program. Minnesota's employers are incredibly responsible with this. And the thing I keep hearing about people, aren't people going to abuse the program? How disrespectful to people to assume that all Minnesotans are scamming. That's what I hear from them all the time. I trust Minnesotans. I believe in Minnesotans. I believe they know. You're not going to get rich, and it's not your full salary. You're not going to scam and take time off. But this is complicated. This was a very good question about multiple members coming off. My family's dealing with this with a mother-in-law. My wife and her 3 sisters, my sisters-in-laws, have a schedule where they take turns every couple of days being responsible, and then they shift off, and then they shift off. As it stands right now, they leave their jobs without pay to do that. This will make it so much easier. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited about the program. I'm excited for the people who've helped on this. I want to give a big shout out to the team at Deed, but also to the legislative auditor. Judy Randall has been there. She was in the committee hearings. She's talked to these folks. She's put a strict eye on what needs to be done. That's the way this stuff should be done. And that is what's happening across every program. So I'm excited about it.
Commissioner, can you speak to how many workers will have paid leave now because of this? I remember there was an estimate about something like 75% of workers before this program didn't have it. I wonder if that's changed. And then can you also speak to how many Minnesota employers opted out of the program because their existing paid leave program meets or exceeds what the state is offering?
Yeah, thank you. So, team is here and can give you any more precise info you need. But your recollection is right that roughly a quarter of Minnesotans had access to this before the program, which shows that it's a valuable thing for an employer to be able to offer, and it's meaningful. And the point of the governor and the legislative champions who got behind this program is to say all Minnesotans should have access to that. And so that will be the case with just a few small exceptions, certain seasonal workers, etc. But nearly all Minnesotans will have access. And then the second part of your question
About
was...
the amount of businesses that have programs that meet or exceed this one,
Yes.
they could pay the fee and opt out.
Yeah, and so in fact, we don't use the term opt-out, but rather a company would need to select and demonstrate that they have selected a private plan that has been validated and verified as being at least as generous as the state program. And I believe we are at roughly 20% of overall wages paid in the state. 20% worth of wages are at employers that are in private plans. And so it's also a good thing to note that employers do have choice. We think that the program we're offering at the department is going to be an excellent one, and that folks will be highly satisfied with it. But if a company chooses to go through a private carrier to deliver the same benefits or more, that is quite all right. And employers are also free to go above and beyond what this program requires. As you probably know, the payroll tax that pays for the program is meant to be split half and half between employers and employees, but companies can pay more of that share if they would like to in order to compete. Companies can also top up the payments going to employees, because as the governor referenced, this is only partial wage replacement to ensure some financial security, but you're not going to get rich on it because it's less than your full paycheck. But if a company wants to give you your full paycheck by topping up what the program is paying, they are free to do that.
But even some of the private plans that exist today, I'm sure aren't as generous as the state. So is that 20% of all wages a fair calculation for how many employers have, perhaps or have a better leave that the state's offering and aren't doing this program or doing their own?
Yeah, it has to be as generous or more so. Otherwise, it wouldn't qualify, and they would need to go into the state plan. So I'm not sure if I'm...
Yeah, I guess perhaps this is a question for staff offline, just how many, said, hey, we're sticking with our plan because it is as generous, if not more generous than the state's.
Yeah, number of companies I couldn't tell you, because of course if there's one big one in that group, it would sort of throw off the numbers. But by percent of wages is how we track it, and that's where the 20% comes in.
Governor, just to follow up on the fraud question
Yeah.
from before, there was a post out this morning from the Treasury Secretary about Minnesota dollars being investigated and possibly going to a terrorist organization. Can you respond?
Yeah, well, we welcome any help on this, but I think everybody in this room is smart enough to understand when the President of the United States sets up and tweets 150 times after midnight and targets certain people, it's not a coincidence that they're targeting Minnesota. We certainly welcome those investigations. They've been done by all of you, and they've been done here. We certainly want to know that, but it's also the Transportation Secretary who is threatening to withhold our federal dollars. Look, that's who they are. This is who they are. We welcome anybody who wants to help us. We're fixing it. And I said, Minnesotans know us and our team. We led us through COVID. We led us through George Floyd. We brought our economy to one of the best in the country. And we'll tackle this. Other governors have dealt with fraud. I want to make sure I'm the last one that has to deal with it by putting these things in. If they want to help us, I welcome that. I think they do an investigation, find out, but I don't think anybody in here really believes their motive and their timing is about actually doing something about this, much like the legislature. They had every opportunity to do investigations. They had every opportunity to do their oversight. They chose not to. The very legislatures that are required to do an audit have not done their own audit. The very legislator that has Republican legislators accusing other Republican legislators of fraud in the PPP program, the federal program. So, again, my message is simple on this. You commit fraud in Minnesota, you're going to prison. I don't care what color you are, what religion you are. Anybody who wants to help us in that, we welcome that. But setting on the sidelines and throwing out accusations, and let's be very clear, demonizing an entire population and lying to people about the safety and security of this state is beneath that. And I will just add, as a teacher and as a parent, the absolutely pathetic usage of a slur, not to me, I don't care what he calls me many things, but don't think that doesn't hurt our children, don't think it doesn't hurt people who are dealing with this. And this is not normal, it's not both sidesism. We're solving problems, we're making life more affordable, we're talking about bringing people in, and we're getting this. As far as the DOT on commercial driver's licenses, we follow the law as we always have. No different than any other state. What a weird coincidence that the president goes on a rant at 2 a.m. and all of a sudden his Treasury Secretary. They need to focus on the war crimes that are coming up. They need to focus on making life more affordable. They need to focus on the issues they're dealing with. But here in Minnesota, we're announcing today one of the best programs in the country, one of the most popular programs in the country, one that has great state employees making it work, and one that's going to benefit Martha and Nell and all these employees. And that's what Minnesotans are asking for.
Governor, just a quick follow-up to that. Have any of the state agencies that you oversee ever identified any fraud and money being sent overseas being used for any illegal activity?
No. And look, that doesn't mean that it couldn't happen. I don't know what criminals do with their money. You know, they buy drugs, buy houses, buy cars, or whatever. These are criminals. This is the same thing if somebody broke into your house and stole your stuff, and us saying, why didn't you have 6 locks on that door? Well, maybe you should have. And we're saying, yeah, maybe we should have more locks. You're absolutely right. We should do more on that. But these are folks that took advantage of a system. And again, in every one of these programs, the Republicans' response to this is after the fact, Monday morning quarterback it, and then say cut the program. If that is happening, those people should go to prison. They should go to jail. I would just add, though, money being funneled to folks who aren't supportive of the United States. We just had a state dinner for the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, who is directly responsible for the murder of American journalists. That seems to me to be something Republicans should be concerned about, because that is factual, based, and researched and verified. That's a little different than this speculation, but I welcome the help. We do all we can. DPS is on this, and I think noting on this that we have a new investigative unit that we put in. We have new powers from the legislature to shut down payments. We're going to have every one of those programs as tight as these are. And I will note on this with Commissioner Verelik and his team to give them some kudos. Minnesota's unemployment insurance, which was robbed in billions of dollars from other states. California lost $5-6 billion in unemployment insurance. I believe it was Iowa and Minnesota were ranked as the 2 most secure, or one of the most secure unemployment insurance. And those are folks that's where the most money flows through, that and Medicaid.
Governor, just a quick follow-up to the Treasury Secretary's comments. Has MnDOT been notified of withholding these funds? And
Yes.
what does that look like? And what is the impact of if those funds are indeed withheld to state projects?
Again, commercial driver's license has been around for 90 years. This program's been out there. Strange coincidence that the president goes on a rant and uses a slur against me, and I just ask him to do what every other president's done, release his medical records, and now they bring this in. We have had time to look what they're saying. We have run commercial driver's licenses, and I may make note of this about making life better for people. Just this week, I got my briefing, and we're going to have the year-end briefing on this. The Minnesota State Patrol and Minnesotans have reduced Minnesota's traffic deaths by over 80 a year, 25%, making us one of the top states for highway safety. This threat, based on procedures we have been doing, following the law, implementing the law for decades, now puts at risk the things that we're doing to improve safety on this. So once again, nothing they did there improves the lives of Minnesotans, but potentially makes our highways less safe, puts our folks at risk. So we've been notified of it. We looked at it. My statement on this is we are following the law exactly as it's written, exactly as we implemented it for decades. And coincidentally, today they decide to keep piling these things on. My expectation is today we will probably see an increased presence of immigration folks in our city. We will probably see the president threaten to use National Guard again. This is a president in spiral, doing nothing to make life cheaper for Minnesotans or Americans, and we understand who he's targeting. And I say this to Minnesotans, I'm trying very hard to not add to that, but I can't control how he thinks. I can't control how he responds. And so what you can be sure with us is we'll continue to implement the law as written. We'll continue to put Minnesotans' safety, security, and well-being first and foremost.
Governor, on last press a few days ago, you said that you take responsibility for putting people in jail, but all the fraud so far has been federal prosecutions. Why did you say?
They prosecute.
Why did you erroneously say that you?
I didn't erroneously say that. We're the ones that our agencies are bringing it up. We're referring them over. This is how this works. We were through it through the BCA. This is Drew Evans and the superintendent of BCA. These are Minnesota folks who work in state government, who are the ones that are helping build the case, turn it over to the federal authorities. So that is totally false. That is totally wrong. It is Minnesotans. It is Minnesota's investigators. It is the IGs that are over there, Investigator Clark, that are doing the things of putting people in jail.
Well, then why aren't there state prosecutions?
The federal laws that they're choosing to do federal prosecutions. We will prosecute on every single thing we can. Many cases we get longer ones. Is your assertion is that we don't have anything to do with the investigations? That is totally false. We're the ones who brought it to them. We're the ones who alerted the FBI. We're the ones. We turn these cases over every day. Drug cases, human trafficking cases. We would prosecute them. What I can tell you is I am deeply concerned now that they are being federally prosecuted because just yesterday the president commuted and pardoned a sentence of a fraudster who took billions and billions of dollars, who served 12 days and was sentenced by an American jury to 45 years. So I am concerned that he releases the fraudsters because they're on federal. If they don't want to prosecute it, we will certainly take them. But this is normal how this works. So my statement is, we are prosecuting and helping put people in jail who are committing fraud in Minnesota, and nothing will change on that.
All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll wrap there.
Thanks, everybody. Congratulations, you guys. Well done.